Sometimes it's really hard to keep feeling hopeful about the possibility of preventing election violence. That's just honest. Sometimes it's a really hard thing to do. I've spent a lot of time looking into how this works and what the research tells us and what we can actually do. And I do know that there is research and there are things we can actually do. And yet, I still have a hard time sometimes feeling hope because the problem just feels overwhelming. And I feel like I am so small, and the people that I know are so small, and the problem is so big. But here's the thing. When I get to feeling hopeless and I start to feel like there's just nothing I can do about the situation, I remind myself that actually hope can sometimes be a choice. Not always, like I can't always get myself into a place of hope if I'm trying to, but very often I can sit up and say, no, I'm going to choose to believe that there is something I can do to help this situation. I am going to choose to believe that there's hope. If I believe that the situation is hopeless, I have totally let myself off the hook, right? Because I don't have to do anything. Like, if it's hopeless, then I can just lay in bed and be mad and sad and not have to take any action. But that's really me looking for excuses. If I don't believe it's hopeless, if I believe there is something that I can do, then I'm going to lean into the thing that I can do. Remember that nobody has to do all the things. We're not actually doing this job by ourselves. We have a whole team of people, the vast majority of folks in the United States who do not want election violence. So I want to encourage you to try this. If you're having doubts or you're struggling with hope, the way that I do sometimes, one of the things that you can do is think about a person you know, and then think about having a conversation with that person in which you would ask them, hey, are you worried about election violence? And if you knew how to prevent it, would you do that? So just think about having that conversation with that person. Now, if you feel like that's a silly question, why would I even ask that person that question? Because obviously they're worried about it and obviously they would prevent it if they could. Well, okay, then that person is on your team. And if it's not a silly question, if you're not sure what they would say, if you asked them that question, then maybe ask them, because the odds are they're going to say, yeah, of course I don't want there to be election violence. Of course I would prevent it if you could. And that way, this person is also on my team. We can wake up, we can choose hope, and we can tell ourselves, yes, there is something I can do to make a difference about the situation. Next time, we're going to talk about engaging in election violence distinctly, and I'll tell you then what it means. And coming up pretty soon, we're going to start digging into specific practical strategies. What do I actually do if I'm trying to prevent election violence?